go. Good morning. It's office hours for Wednesday. I'm Dano, as you know. Are you sick of me yet? You guys see me almost every day. Um, Steve is here. Hey, Steve. So, as you know, the way office hours works is we're here to talk about ukulele stuff that we're discussing in the Uke Club. And my hope here is that you'll bring your questions that I can help you with, anything that you're struggling with for our lessons, for ukulele stuff in general. I do prepare a minute or two or three of learning material for you. Questions here tend to be pretty slim, I think, because we've got such good communications in the Facebook group day in and day out. So that said, I've got a quick little lesson back on the subject of movable chords, but kind of on a different angle, a different take on it. So here's what I want to look at today. I want to show you how you can find chords up the neck by using the principles behind movable chords. In other words, what if you wanted to find every G on the neck or every F chord on the neck? I've got a little formula that will help you do that. It's kind of a mechanical way to lock your hands in. So first, let me take 1 minute and describe why this is valuable. The concept of movable chords in general is valuable because if you are able to play, here's a B flat shape. Let me shift my body a little bit so you can see better. We are recording. Thanks for the reminder. If you've got a B flat shape, and if you're covering all four strings, you can take that shape and move it anywhere on the neck. Now that B flat shape at fret 3 is a C chord. It still is a B flat shape, and this is the crucial distinction that you've got to get. You've got to separate the shape from the name of the chord. So when we play a B flat shape at fret 1, it is a B flat. So it's a lovely coincidence that the name and the shape match. But as soon as we move the B flat shape to another fret, it takes on the new name. So now it's a B shape because we go from B flat to B. And I said that wrong. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. It's a B flat shape, but when we move it up here, it's a B flat shape, but the name of the chord is B. When we move it up one more to fret 3, it is now a C chord with a B flat shape. There's a good old familiar C, and you can hear the overlap. Make sense so far? Give me the big hands if it makes sense. It's very lonely here. It's just me and the church tower, so it's nice to get some feedback. All right, so same thing happens. I'm going to show you a G chord, and I'm going to mute string 4. G shape can be moved. G. So it still is a G shape, but now it's moving up the neck and becoming a G sharp or an A flat, and an A. When we talk about the real concept that we're going for today, I'll show you that you can also close off string 4 with your little finger or whichever configuration you want to use. So it really is a 4-chord movable, a 4-string movable shape, and you don't have to worry about muting. All right, so that's the basic concept. I'm getting lots of handses, upses, indicating that you're with me so far. So I won't belabor the point. But let's use that knowledge and figure out how we can find all the shapes of a specific chord name. So like I said, if you wanted to find all the D chords or all the E flat chords, here's how it works. It's kind of neat. I use a little mnemonic which actually involves curse words, and I to help me remember the transitions. But the simplified version would be gosh darn babies. Gosh darn babies. I'll let you work out what I actually think when I say it. G, D, B. That's the key thing. You need something to help you remember. G, D, B. So why? Because those are the shapes. You go from a G shape to a D shape to a B shape as you go up the neck, finding different versions of the same chord name. Remember, differentiate between chord name and chord shape. Hi, Deborah. Nice to have you here. G, D, B. So here's an example. Let's actually start with the literal G. I want to show you how to find other G chords moving up the neck. And I got sidetracked. I didn't tell you why this is valuable. We've actually, as we're progressing through our weekly exercises, the latest group is now up to week 24. We're doing more and more stuff up the neck. And it's also nice to be able to work out songs in different keys and to be able to find these chords. It's kind of like a magic trick that lets you instantly transpose from one key to the next. All right. What shape is that? That is a G shape. What chord is that? That is a G chord. Happy coincidence, the shape is the same. G. The shape is the same as the name. To find the next version of G up the neck, you've got to remember the formula, G, D, B. Gosh darn babies. I just want to sock them. They're such gosh darn babies. So I'm going to find the D shape of the G chord. With me? I'm going to find the D shape of the G chord. Why is it the D shape? Because it matches the formula and you just have to trust me. G, D, B. So I'm going to strum my G chord. I want to add my little finger to make it be the pivot point into the next shape. So you can use your ear for this. You can either memorize it, that it's skip a fret, you see, skip 2 frets on string 1, or skip 1 fret off the bass shape. My preference is not to try to remember that, especially because as I just explained it that way, there's 2 ways of thinking about it. I want to just use my ear and hear the sound. I'm going to add a note on string 1 that will become my pivot point. And it's the note that sounds good with the G. That's intentionally vague. G. I'm adding in that note, which happens to be a D, but it doesn't matter. And you can hear that it rings out and it sounds okay. Compare it to, well, that's okay, but it's clearly not a G chord. Definitely wrong. So it's a bit of a stretch. That's your marker point. That's going to be your starting point for the D shape that's going to equal the G chord. So G shape plus 2. Right there, you want to shift into the D shape. And you can hear that that is also a G chord. So that takes me to fret 5, skip 1, and then add the bar. If you're not comfortable with the full bar, you can use 3 fingers. But that's how you find the next one. G, add the little finger to get the note that sounds true. Let that be your jumping off point to make the D shape. So now you've got G1, G2. All right, but it's the D shape, G, D, gosh darn. All right, let's take it a step further. Our next chord shape that we're after is B. Gosh darn babies, babies. So we need to find the B shape. Remember we were talking about B shape, B or B flat? So here we are. I'll walk us through it again. G plus finger. That spot becomes the transition for the D shape of the G chord. And then I'm going to shift to here so I can do the same thing and listen for the note that rings out true and pure. Let me sidetrack just a little bit. You could call this a C shape, all right? But I think that muddies it a little bit. But from the D bar, I'm looking for the note that sounds true with it. And that becomes my next pivot point as I go to the B shape version of the same chord. So I'm playing a G chord name. That's my pivot point. I shift into it and I create that B shape. I'm getting high up the neck and it's knocking me a little out of tune. That'll happen sometimes. All right. So it's G, D, B. Those are the names of the shapes, not the names of the actual chords that you're strumming. Okay. Gosh darn children. Yes, you could have, but the children would come after the babies if you were doing it that way, Barry, because you'd have gosh darn babies in the B shape, and then the babies, B, grow into children. I think I'm saying that in the correct chronological order. All right, let's do it with another chord, and you can see how the same pattern repeats. No matter where you are, GDB, it loops around. So GDB, GDB, GDB. If you start on D, B, G, it loops back around the other way. In fact, let's start with a literal D chord, okay? This is so much deeper than just ukulele, says Barry. I know it, man. It's all about life. For clarity, says Todd, please compare the B shape with the C shape. B shape and a B chord. Let's see, how can I do that clearly? Yeah, on a G chord. Thanks, Todd. Okay, so let's work our way up the neck. G chord and G shape. Note that rings true. Pivot. That's my D shape, gosh darn. Find the note. That's my new pivot point, gosh darn. B. So let's see. Todd, when I'm here at frets 5 and 7 in this case, that's the D shape, okay? With the finger back here. When I close off string 1 and add that note, it becomes a C shape, and that's what I'm sort of glossing over here. Still is a G chord, but it's that C, our home C, moved up to fret 7. So if it helps you, you can add the C chord in after B. You could call it, after D. D goes to a D shape, goes to a C shape. I'm leaving that out and just calling it the pivot note that you find by ear. And then that converts to the B shape. So that's where B and C relate to each other. C shape, also known as a D shape with an extra note. And then that's the pivot point into the B shape. Hope that's clear. Now, let's do it one more time, starting with a different chord and a different chord shape. Let's take a little breather. D chord. So I'm playing my D with a bar straight across. String 1 is ringing out. So now our pattern is going to be, yes, Barry, we always look for the pivot note on the first string. You'll see it again here as we go through with the D chord, all right? Let's find all the D chords on the neck. Obviously, by the way, there are obscure fingerings that you can do to create other D chords or G chords or whatever. What we're looking here for are the mainstream shapes, the common ones that you would use all the time. So here's a D using our mnemonic. I always have to stop and remember the word mnemonic. I need a mnemonic for the word mnemonic because I always want to call it a pneumatic. Jerry, this is exactly like Caged and some of those other guitar tricks. On the ukulele, that's with the hidden C in there. There's a couple of other hidden chords that we're passing over with these passing notes that I'm calling them. To me, it's easier to simplify the formula and just have it be a 3-chord movement up the neck. But you're absolutely right that this is similar to Caged on the guitar, C-A-G-E-D. But we're simplifying it for ukulele, and we're simplifying the formula in general because, like I was showing you with the C chord that's hidden in there, yes, it's there, but we're really just passing over it. All right, D chord. Just like before, this is a D chord, and it's a D position. All right, now you may actually sometimes play D chord with a high D note. So in this case, it may simplify the understanding of finding that one true note that is your pivot point, because this is a D shape that we use anyway. So it's the bar, skip 2. So I'm looking for that extra note on string 1 that rings out true. And I can also start to visualize that I'm skipping 2 chords. Once again, this is the C shape. I'm throwing that out as an aside, not for something for you to necessarily remember. D chord, find the pivot note. So G, gosh darn babies. I'm looking for the D to B shape, right? So there's my pivot point. I'm going to move to that spot and create the B shape. And you can hear that it's the D chord. D, D, D. All right. Once again, there. You heard me find the wrong note. I changed and I found the right note. What's right about it? It sounds right. There are more musical reasons for that, but that's basically what I'm working off of. Gosh darn babies. So now we have got to start the loop over and we go back to G, the G shape off of that pivot point. All right. And there it is, way up there at frets 9 and 10. It's the G shape, and I'm playing the simplified 3-finger G to get the D shape. Compare it. Compare it. 3 different versions of D. So using that power, you can find all of any chord, all the C's, D's, E's, F's, E flats, F sharps, whatever you want, using the exact same formula. They just move their way up the neck. And if you had an infinitely long ukulele, the loop would continue to loop. So it's a great, simple system to help you find chords. And when it's most valuable for me is when I'm working out like chord melody things. And I want to be able to, I know that I want a D, but I want one up the neck. Well, I just run through my little formula and find the D up the neck, for example. In chord melody, you very often want a higher position version of the chord so you can get the melody ringing out loud. Usually you want the melody on the first string. So that's a very common, very useful use for this formula. So that's it in a nutshell, and I'm going to leave it right there. Happy to take questions about that, see if there's anything lurking in your mind. Also happy to take questions on other things. If anybody wants to jump on screen to ask, that's fine. As I said at the outtake, my purpose for being here is to try to be helpful to you and to provide a little extra material. You know, our uke club stuff, there's a funny thread going on in the Facebook group right now of people hating on the week 24 material, these closed chords with kind of weird fingering positions. And you know, I'm with you guys. I'm with you. We're using our ukulele aerobics book as our structure for this. And some of that stuff is incredibly valuable and incredibly well presented. And then some of it just feels like it's very obscure. And it's up to us to extract the value. And it's up to us to overcome the hardness of getting through some of those. So we're in it together. We're working through those together. But I feel like one of the things I can do on these little days when we get together is to provide just a little something extra that doesn't really fit in with what we're doing within the uke club itself. So I'll hang out for a minute and see if there's any questions that come up. And let's see who's here. Right. Yeah, we've got a couple of folks asking to come on who aren't in the uke club. So I'm going to politely decline and just leave it open for you guys. In fact, very persistently. So yeah, go ahead and type in your question, Walidos, if it's ukulele related, and I'll take it that way. So as always, it's nice to see you guys. Fun to hang out for a few minutes on a Wednesday morning. And thanks to Todd for putting the reminder up on the Facebook group today. Sometimes that slips away, unfortunately. I need a secretary. I've been working on I'm reading Todd's comment here about dominant seventh shapes. A, G. Okay, I'm enjoying the comments. So, wow, all of a sudden things are going crazy. People are commenting, things are beeping. Todd, I don't know about all the chord shape cycles, but I've been working through the dominant seventh shapes. Yeah, in the same way that I'm showing you the major shapes as we go through them, but every other quality of chord would have a similar pattern up the neck. And in fact, I've got that slated for another one of these office hours to show you something similar with minor chords, seventh chords. But the notion and how to find the minor chords off the major, find the seventh chords off the major, and that sort of thing. But each shape would have its own movement up the neck. Okay, so it doesn't look like we've got any questions rolling in. I always want to be like an AM morning disc jockey. Oh, the switchboard is lighting up. But maybe I just need a more controversial topic. Or maybe just music is controversial, judging from one guy's comment, which is, I hate music. Okay, I'm going to turn off record and